Let me ask you something. Would you dip into your retirement account if you needed to pay the bills? Well, you wouldn't be alone because right now, today, there are so many people doing that. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about how many people are struggling. It's not just the bottom 20% or even 50% of people. We're talking about the bottom 80%. The vast majority of people are struggling to make ends meet. I'm going to cover that. We're going to look at what they've been doing as a result of this. And when we pinpoint it, we are going to identify why this is the case and what we need to be doing and what we need to be avoiding. All of that right here, beginning with this article talking about how 80% of American households are in a worse financial position now than they were before 2020. Certainly, we've seen a lot of inflation. We've seen a lot of shrinkflation as well. There's no doubt about that. And there's a very, very small group of people who have been benefiting from all of this. That probably sounds familiar to you. Well, the Federal Reserve, along with Bloomberg, identified a rapid drawdown of excess savings, particularly stark among the lower income groups. While all income groups have experienced a decrease in real term cash balances from the peak in 2021, the disparity is noteworthy. And we do see that, yes, that is the case. But everybody's doing this now today, it seems. The vast majority. Look, I'm in a position where I'm talking to people locally around me. I'm talking to people on Zoom. I am also getting to hear from people literally all over the world on a regular basis. I'm constantly trying to pull information. I ask the question, how is it in your industry? What are you seeing around you? How has it been now compared to a few years ago? I'm always asking these questions from everybody you can imagine. So I'm in a position that's generally different than a lot of others who deal with people locally, and generally that's about it. I can hear these things and get to these things because, number one, I'm interested in it, but just because of the position that I'm in. And let me tell you, it seems to be completely widespread. The same situation. It's that easy money from 2020 is gone, interest rates are up, and it's a more difficult environment through and through. What's happening in the stock market, of course, doesn't reflect that. It's a different scenario. And when we say economy, people get confused. They think, what are you talking about? The stock market? No, it's completely different. Look, what we're talking about today is a different circumstance. And I'm going to show you that, okay? Just stick with me. I'll give the breakdown. Because Americans right now are pulling cash from their retirement savings, not for fun. They're doing it to pay the bills. And you see that withdrawals mostly spent on housing and medical expenses, and the average 401k balance has barely budged in 5 years. Certainly, there's a concern when people are doing this. It shows you that they don't have any cash left over. They wouldn't be doing that on the retirement account if they knew that, they're going to face the repercussions. No, we don't want that, right? Obviously, we would want to use their cash. They're using their credit cards. They're up into their chin with debt. They're drowning in it. And this is coming in all forms. And of course, when we are seeing interest rates at this high, they don't want to borrow that. They're going to take it from their nest egg. And that is, okay, some would say, hey, that's fine. But there's more to it than that. All right. Americans are increasingly tapping into their retirement savings to cover housing and medical bills amid higher cost of living pressures. 2.3% of workers took a hardship withdrawal last quarter, and that's up from a year earlier. The top two reasons given were to avoid foreclosure for homeowners or eviction for renters and for medical expenses. So there we are. We have information that is very clear and distinct. And yeah, the percentage is small, but imagine what that really signals about what's happening here today and now. People are in a worse circumstance now because of inflation. We're being told consistently that printing money does not create inflation, but at the same time, we're told that the tooth fairy leaves us money under our pillows, and that's a good fantasy when you're at the age, when it's age appropriate. But there comes a time in which we need to grow up. And there's only a small percentage of the public that has grown out of adolescence, that has grown out of childhood. Most people that you work with are in that circumstance where they feel that they are still a child inside. And that's good to have to be a child and, this and that. But come on, you got to grow up when it comes to paying the bills, to being knowledgeable and informed. And if we're not going to do that, well, then every time they go and increase interest rates and then smack them down again, you're going to get kicked to the curb. Do you want to be a part of that? Or do you want to be those who are able to shield themselves from the worst effects of this inflation? I've been talking about this a long time, but if you just want to start at 2020, there have been so many things that I've been pointing out throughout this period of time that I have not been flip-flopping on like all these other guys. You got to stick with what makes sense. I mean, come on. Look at this. Higher interest rates are shattering housing dreams around the world. Now, for a lot of people, they had expected interest rates to stay low forever. And that's a weird circumstance, if you ask me, because these are part of cycles. These are normal cycles. We go up when there's higher inflation, and then they bring them down when they want to create an artificial boom. This happened for so many years, yet we expected that to just stay low forever. But of course, not the case. During these periods of time, it gets tougher. Jobs are then, put on the edge because businesses are saying, I don't think now's the right time to hire more people. And we start laying off, we start trimming the fat. A lot of businesses are laying off 5%, 10%, and so on. So certainly home ownership is one of those, but I do believe that the West is going towards a more renter model. There's no question. And these are just the leading economic indicators. Okay, all you need to know is think of a bunch of indicators squeezed in together, and it tells us that we are approaching recession, or likely they'll admit that right now. Okay, based on the data, history shows us we're in those circumstances. Now, what that means, the only relevant factor here that you need to know is that usually during these times there are layoffs. That's all. Okay, and you could see it. Go back in history here to the beginning of 2000. We can see these previous recessions. Typically, it's bottomed out already. It's started to head upwards, leading economic indicators. That right now is probably the recession. They'll start admitting that, but we've already grown out of that. That's what they're going to say. And then they'll cut interest rates sometime in the new year. That recession indication will allow them to start cutting interest rates, and we can go into another inflationary period. I have been very clear and distinct on what I have said about inflation. And some others have said some other things. I've been very spot on and haven't flip-flopped about inflation. It's very clear. Okay? Where they're going is more inflation. There are some deflationary aspects right now, but let's admit it. What are we seeing? What do we see across the board? Amid the tumultuous developments of the past several years, including a short but severe recession and a period of high and sustained inflation, a majority of Americans say that they are not where they need to be to achieve their retirement savings goals. Compared to our survey a year ago, there's no progress on this front. Those closer to retirement age are among those feeling the sense of urgency the most, certainly. Right? How are they going to grow out of this? How are they going to get into a better circumstance when everything is so expensive? And at the same time, we add things like this. You see shrinkflation everywhere. I've talked about it, by the way, not just in products, not just in goods, but in services as well. And they give, a whole bunch of different examples. And I love this website, Mouseprint, where you see it, how they shrink it down. It might be the package gets thinner, the package gets, one way, shape, or form. They're adding more air inside, a lot less product inside, and it seems to be everywhere. Okay? You can have these weird mozzarella bites that would probably make my grandmother roll in her grave. You could look around here at toilet paper. Why are you taking away our toilet paper? I mean, come on. Come on, okay? That's the one thing. Don't touch that. That's the one thing we don't need less of. All right? And it goes on. The point is, we're getting squeezed from inflation. We're getting it shrinkflated. And the crazy part is, with the shrinkflation, actually, a lot of the time, the product will go up 10% or more in price when you look at it dollar for dollar. 10%. That's going way beyond this nonsense of 3% inflation. Are you kidding me? Right. Okay. And what's important to note is that CEOs are seeing that the consumer is choiceful. So my message to you is watch, number one, where the business is. If you are involved in a business that's not considered to be essential, right around this time here, until we start cutting interest rates to get right down to the bottom and so on, this is going to be a little bit more of a difficult time. We don't want to work for those companies where they can just lay us right off. At the same time, for stock investing, you want to be in a place where, that the market loves, right? And right now, certainly technology has been over favored, if anything. But a lot of like the Warren Buffett types would suggest that we should be investing in the staples right now, because people need them, regardless if they're getting shrinkflated or inflated. One way, shape, or form, they need certain things. So keep that in mind as an investor too. If you want to get some information that I think is incredibly relevant, then what I would do is check out Money Pickle, okay? Because I hooked up with these guys. I mean, I think they're great. I've gotten great feedback, and it's the ability to get a CFP or fiduciary to help you out and do it for free. For free, okay? So you click this link right here, you schedule a call in like 1 minute. You're going to be able to schedule a call, get on with them, and they'll be able to help you out to get your situation in order. Don't just sit there and, yeah, I'll do it later maybe or something. It's free. Why not? Everybody that I've gotten the feedback from has said good things. So check that out. Click the link. And I hope that you will give me feedback on that as well too, okay? Link will be in the description. The comment of the day: no country needs a central bank. Governments can issue their own currency. Absolutely. And we got to understand the pain that we are experiencing now is because of these cycles that are created by the central bank. When they lift interest rates, it causes a problem here. When they bring them all the way down to the ground and leave them there for way too long, it causes a problem somewhere else. But we follow that cycle and we could be ahead of the game. How did I know these things would happen? I just follow the central bank cycles, paying attention to all these different indicators, and I give that very clearly and distinctly. I try as best as I can here on the YouTube, but of course, algorithms, all that nonsense, I give that on my weekly Finance Friday group. But that's a whole different story. If you want to check out anything, links are in the description. I want to appreciate you for being here each and every single day, and that means check me out tomorrow. Make sure you type in the Money GPS to make sure that you get on that tomorrow. I want to see you there. Take care.